try doing the intro with the real deal. That made sense in my head. It's not right. Been a while. I definitely played that better in the recording. Mind Fuado, The Road to Hell, is the path chosen by Ogami Ito. His son Daigoro is given the choice as an infant between the sword or a ball, and he chooses the sword and unknowingly affiliates himself with his father's relentless quest for revenge. Lone Wolf and Cub is a classic revenge tale. There's as much about revenge as it is about life and culture in feudal Japan. Epic in scale, Lone Wolf and Cub is often seen as the definitive feudal Japanese manga. But should you all read it? That is the question. Written by Kazuo Koike and drawn by Goseki Kojima, Lone Wolf and Cub was published between 1970 and 1976. The English versions are published by Dark Horse Comics. There are 28 smaller volumes and 12 omnibus volumes. This is volume 1 of the omnibus that I've got here. Some complain about the art reproduction and other things like that, but for the most part, I think they're really good additions, to be fair. They, as far as getting a hold of Lone Wolf and Cub and reading and enjoying the story, these, for English readers at least, are the best way you can get at the moment, unless you prefer reading digitally. Digitally is always an option, obviously. But over those 28 volumes and 12 omnibuses, there are over 8,500 pages of Lone Wolf and Cub. 8,500 pages written and drawn between 70 and 76 is a remarkable achievement, particularly when the artistry on display is some of the most effortlessly detailed and gorgeous you will ever have the pleasure of looking at. The atmosphere, movement, emotion and action Kojima produces is truly astonishing, and most importantly, it is consistent throughout. There's never a page that lacks attention or effort. Characters that have a narrative impact on Ogami Ito and his son retain a very strong uniqueness in the story as well. Different areas of Japan, cities, classes, sex, villages, occupations, all are featured with historical accuracy in mind, which brings to life feudal Japan, making the backdrop very much a character in its own right in the story. However stunning the artistry is, over 8,500 pages, you could argue that it may get stale, but it doesn't, because all the while it's got this ever unfolding, evolving, amazingly written narrative driving it and combining with the art, kind of just keeping you hooked from start to finish. The both things are really firing on all cylinders, in fairness. Ogami Ito is the Shogun's executioner. He is one of 3 different agencies that basically are there to enforce the Shogun's iron will and iron grip, really, over his lords. The ninjas are one area, uncovering evidence for the Shogun to weaponize. The assassins are tasked with killing whoever gets in the Shogun's way. And then you've got Ogami Ito, the executioner, the Shogun's final executioner, the final face dishonored lords would see before they leave the world. The Yagyu clan are the assassins, and they are led by our main antagonist to Ogami, and that is Retsudo Yagyu. Unbeknownst to many though, Retsudo also controls the ninja as well as his clan controlling the assassins, and in an attempt to control all 3 different agencies and groups of people that help the Shogun run the country, he wants a member of his clan to be the executioner. When that fails, he frames Ogami Ito, and in the framing of Ogami Ito, Ito's wife ends up being killed, and so our thread, our main plot line is kind of born, really. The revenge story between Ogami and the Yagyu clan overall. So Ito, now considered a traitor, makes hasty plans for revenge, and along with his then 1-year-old son Daigoro, he begins a new life as an assassin for hire. Charging 500 ryo for a life, there are few in the story that Ogami Ito considers above assassination. And this is very much where our series begins, Ito being given 500 ryo to kill, and in fact most of the early 300 pages are dominated with those contract killings, and this is a great way of kind of revealing the world of feudal Japan, revealing the different villages, different characters, different occupations, different ways of living in this country. All the while with Ito going through, picking up contracts, earning money and moving his story forward, and slowly but surely scratching away at his motivations and who he is as a person, while also finding out a significant amount about his son, and every now and again finding out more about Retsudo. Ito is pretty much an unparalleled swordsman, really. There is no one that can even compete with him, even slightly, really, in the story. He is the Shogun's final executioner for a reason, really. Even that said, if there was something physical that would slow him down, you wouldn't know that it would slow him down because he just wouldn't show it. His focus overtakes everything and kind of drives his body and mind through any situation to reach his goal. He literally is relentless in his task. And as an assassin and as a person out for revenge, you do not want to be on the receiving end because there is nothing that will stop him from getting what his goal is. Nothing. He and Retsudo Yagyu are really tied to the teachings of Bushido and samurai teachings and other things like that. And often it kind of gives this impression that they are more kind of nicer people than they might perhaps be, because ultimately they kind of are so laser focused on their task that now and again when something comes up in front of them, they may basically help people in front of them or cease battling if honor demands it and this type of thing. But ultimately, they're only doing it because they are so trained to uphold these samurai teachings. But ultimately, they're just waiting for the next opportunity to get back on track and to keep going forward because they are both laser focused. Retsudo is laser focused getting power. Ito laser focused on getting revenge. And those two are so strong in their desires to get what they want. This is the kind of main focus and main antagonistic thread of the story, is those two just being so powerful and so committed mentally and physically to achieving their ends. An early story that was named Red Cart as well was one of the first ones I realised how captivated I was with the story. It begins with Ito being imprisoned, and by this point of the story you know instantly that this is to do with some sort of assassination contract. Nothing is revealed really about who hired Ito, who his target is, nothing. And as the story unfolds, it slowly shows the lengths Ito will go to achieve his goal, to achieve an assassination, and the strategizing and ingenious planning that he has got. But equally, he can really work on the fly as well. So when something changes or when a situation changes, he's quick to just change his plans and redirect his efforts really quickly. He is an extremely intelligent human being, much like his main rival, Retsudo. One assassination at a time, Ogami Ito amasses a fortune in preparation for his battle to bring down the Yagyu clan. And now that he's a dishonored samurai, he allows himself different forms of weaponry, different forms of trickery, because he sees himself as fighting an assassin clan. And to fight an assassin clan, they utilize trickery and different types of weaponry, and not just a face-to-face battle like a samurai would. So he implements that as well. And the different kind of weaponry and approaches he uses is amazing, I think. Whenever Ito introduces a new way of fighting, it's always really a pleasure to see and really exciting to see, because you always assume, because he's such a strong samurai figure, that he's always going to play it quite straightforwardly. But he always shocks you in terms of how he approaches the different things he uses. The cart he pushes his son Daigoro around, for example, has different weaponry and different things going on. And he uncovers plans for new different types of weaponry, which lead to all manner of different types of havoc being wreaked across the land, and it is glorious to behold, to be honest. And even on second reading, when the initial surprise of these different weapons and different approaches is gone, you still are left with a sense of excitement whenever Ito goes into battle, and in particular whenever this lone wolf is up against a substantial, monumental amount of odds. Retsudo Yagyu, like Ito, is formidable, extremely intelligent, and perhaps the only swordsman that can come close to Ito, with a bit of a codicil to that. He only gets close because he's an older man. He's been in the Shogun's employ for 60 years. Ito for about 27, if I remember the story correctly. And so he's an old man. You know, he's not as young and not as fit and formidable as Ogami Ito, so he needs to stack the deck in his favour. And it's great because whenever Retsudo comes close to battling with Ogami throughout the whole of the story, he always puts in front of him other barriers, other people to fight, because he knows Ogami is after him. So if he stacks up different layers of samurai, different types of assassins, different types of ninja, different types of weaponry, different types of things, even if he gets to him, by the time he gets to him, he's going to be absolutely knackered. And so Retsudo only kind of compete with Ogami when he weighs him down a bit, and he is always trying to weigh him down a bit, which is great. Retsudo wants his clan to be in shadowy control of the Shogun's empire of Japan, really. And Ogami is really the only thorn in his side in this plan. The early volumes, however, are dominated very much with this cat and mouse game, where Retsudo doesn't really want to come out fully against Ogami Ito just yet, because he's worried about his social standing and about how he's seen in the Shogun's court. And Retsudo in general is a fantastic villain because he is believable as an opponent to this seemingly unstoppable Ogami Ito, and you can understand his actions, and even you end up respecting him for towing the line and not betraying his samurai teachings. He is ever looming across the whole of the series. So once his character is established, the threat of Retsudo is always there, and you're never sure exactly when he's going to strike, but when he does, it always leads to jaw-dropping moments. The book does such an incredible job of exploring the relationship between Ito and Retsudo and their rivalry, that whenever they appear on a panel together, even if it's just a conversation, even if the pair are just standing there, it is exciting and captivating, and you are gripped. Generally, all they have to do is stand there, and it's just beautiful because of how well the story has brought these two figures up. The intrigue and action come in abundance through Ogami Ito and Retsudo, but the heart of this series really is with Daigoro. He is possibly one of my most favourite characters ever, really. He really is, because emotionally I was so... I just wanted the best for him all the way. I just really, really adored him as a character. And for a character that says barely any words at all, next to no words whatsoever, and ages up about 2 years in the story, so going from 1 to about 3, so a tiny kid who says nothing, and for him to have such a monumental impact on the story says all about the artistry and the writing, really. When you see Daigoro strapped to the back of his father, who is mowing down person after person in brutal, bloody fashion, Daigoro is perhaps an afterthought, but then when left for days, sometimes weeks on end, while his father carries out the killing, the personality of Daigoro shines through. And you could argue that the whole story is about how revenge can taint and twist the lives of those closest to those who seek revenge. A story of how a child is ultimately pure, kind and empathetic, but also how they seek to emulate their parents and follow the actions and teachings of their parents. I found myself time and time again watching Daigoro struggling through life and wanting to actually help him in some way. Now, there's not a lot of books that you read and you kind of actually want to dive into the narrative and help your main character, but this did that for me. The series often diverts away from Ogami Ito and Retsudo. In fact, one of the main digressions on a regular basis throughout the series is these digressions to just focus on Daigoro. And again, most of them, because he's not that vocal, you don't get a lot of dialogue, but you get a lot of his actions, his motivations, how he is, how he interacts with the world. And his strength of character, his lovingness, his sense of humour, everything just shines through so wonderfully. Daigoro as well respects and loves his father immensely, and his father loves and respects him back. But unfortunately, all too often in the quest for revenge, it comes out with difficult choices, and many of Ogami Ito's choices have a really detrimental effect on Daigoro. Naturally, after many different assassinations, the story becomes less and less about the assassinations and more about this inevitable race to a clash between Ogami Ito and Retsudo Yagyu. Thankfully, the conclusion is not quick or straightforward, and it leaves the reader guessing as to what's next, because for however focused Ogami and Retsudo are with their plans, there are many others in the world of Lone Wolf and Cub with their own plans. As intimidating as an 8,500 page story arc is, when you say it, Lone Wolf and Cub flows super fast, and it really doesn't pull any punches in hanging round at all. It's perfectly paced. Moments where battles or meetings are poised to explode, only for the book to go off in a different direction, don't come across as frustrating or off-putting. Instead, they make you read on, introduce you to new elements, new characters, and continue to build towards the ultimate showdown between two formidable, captivating men. If you couldn't already tell, I certainly believe Lone Wolf and Cub is well worth anyone's time. Not only reading, but rereading this story will bring out a lot of nuances that you perhaps missed the first time round, mainly because of the speed. You'll naturally read it because of the speed. This type of manga forces you to read in a way. If you enjoy stories set in the past, stories of revenge, stories of those affected by the relentless quest for revenge, samurai stories, political intrigue, or just action-packed stories, then this story and this series delivers all of that and more. It deserves all the praise heaped on it, and long may Dark Horse keep those omnibuses in print, or even better, give us a nice, chunky, oversized deluxe version so we could all stare longingly and lovingly at that artwork. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.